Hi guys, so I got Steins Gate 0 today, and I'm really curious about it and really excited to play it because I love Steins Gate, so that's what we're doing today. Flashbacks from the other game. The hatch opened. Bright light flooded my eyes. Where was I? My eyes narrowed. Could barely make out the summer's twilight sky. I didn't want to leave. I just wanted to disappear. But someone grabbed my arm and dragged me out. I didn't have the energy to respond to my own nickname. I fell to the ground and wrapped my arms around myself. Mayuri ran to me and looked down, her face worried. But her kindness felt like nothing but a nuisance. Don't talk to me. Just leave me alone. I do remember that was Kurisu's blood, and that she died. Maybe this is before he manages to save her. I'm so excited about this game. Daru ran to the door that led back inside the building. Yeah. Stop it. Just get away from me. Leave me alone. I couldn't save her. In fact, I killed her myself. Right here, 3 weeks ago. I killed her. I'm a murderer.
無駄だったんだ。何をやっても無駄だ。全部決まってしまっていることなんだよ。同じだ。真入れの時と同じなんだ。どれだけもがいたって結果は同じになる。
No matter how many times I try, it will all converge back to the same result. The process doesn't matter. Whether you time travel or time leap, you can't go back and change the results of the past. I thought I understood that cruel truth. But now I was forced to realize it again, and in the worst possible way.
無駄だよ。無駄なんだ。何もかも無駄なんだよ。俺はやっぱりクリスを助けられないんだ。
That is a crazy sounding laugh.
分かってた。分かってたんだ。こうなるって予想してたんだ。もう疲れた。
The words are showing up really slowly too.
だからもういいよ。 殺してしまった。バカみたいだ。全部俺のせいだ。
マキセ・クリスをさ、刺し殺しちゃったんだ。殺した？嘘、そんな。でも安心して、まだもう一回分タイムトラベルはできる。
ほっといてくれ。俺のことなんか何度やったって結果は同じだ。
何言ってんの？諦めるつもり？オカリンおじさんの肩には何十億っていう人の命がかかってるんだよ。たった一回の失敗が何だって言うんだ。
クリスはどうやったって助けられない。世界線の収束には逆らえない。
こうなったらビンタしてでも気合い入れ直して。ダメだよ、無理強いするのは良くないよ。こんなボロボロになってるオカリン見てられないもん。でもさ、このままじゃ未来を変えられない。どうして未来のことをオカリン一人に押し付けるの？そんなの
She's really sweet.
重すぎるよ。オカリンおじさんには世界の観測者としての能力があるからだよ。
Yeah, because only he can see the difference. Well, remember the differences in the timeline.
オカリンが望んだわけじゃないのに。それにもう一度やったってまたオカリンが傷つくだけだって思うな。未来のことを人一人で変えようなんてきっと無理なんだよ。だからそのためのシュタインズゲートで。気持ちはわかるよ。でもさ、私も未来をかけてここまで来てるんだよね。どっちにしろ2036年には戻れないんだ。そう簡単に諦めるつもりはないから。
Yeah, I think you could go in the future. You could go back in the past, but you can't go back to the future. No, wait. No. You can, but not with the machine that she used because it's like defective. Yeah, I think that was it.
オカリンおじさん、一つだけ忠告しとく。このタイムマシンに残されてる燃料は有限なの。さっきは往復2回分しか残ってないって言ったけど、実はまだそれなりに余裕はある。
So he already did it twice.
それでも移動できる時間はおよそ344日分。
Okay, almost a year.
片道のタイムトラベルだとしても、今から1年と経たないうちに7月28日には届かなくなる。覚えといて。その日になったらさ、私はたとえ一人でも飛ぶよ。
Someone was saying something to me, but I couldn't understand the words. I didn't want to listen to anything, I just wanted to sleep. Just let this all end. Just let me go.
オカリン？オカリン。ねえ、オカリン。もう、頑張らなくてもいいからね。泣いてもいいんだよ。オカリン。マユシーは、そばにいるからね。オカリン。
I don't know if Mayuri's words were the reason why, but the tears started to flow. I decided to forget everything. Ever since that day, I stopped going to the Future Gadget Lab. UPX, the new symbol of Akihabara, was located right in front of the station. In the hall on the 4th floor, preparations had been going on all morning for the ATF Akihabara Techno Forum convention. Universities and labs from both inside and outside the country would work together to put on special seminars and symposiums at irregular intervals. My school, Tokyo Denki University, was participating as part of its study collaboration efforts. Students were required to attend these seminars and submit to their instructors. Otherwise, they wouldn't get credit for their related classes. In addition, I was supposed to help one of the lecturers, Associate Professor Izaki. I had just gotten a list from the reception desk at the shared lobby. I was waiting to check off the names of students who were coming to the lectures. There was still some time before the seminar started, so the lobby was mostly empty. None of the students on the list were here yet. I was bored, but I couldn't do anything but wait. The old me never could have imagined doing anything like this, but the impressing was part of my new goal in life. Victor Condria University. Yes, that was my new goal. Izaki did a lot of joint research projects with them and knew a lot of people there. The best first step to getting there my brain could come up with was being his assistant. Also, this convention was holding another seminar by Victor Condria University after the one held this summer. Of course, that interested me too. Summer. An image of her, as she was then, flashed through my mind. I was trying to get to Victor Condria so that I could learn about the work that Kurisu Makise had been doing. I wanted to try to do it myself. Of course, I wasn't a genius like Kurisu. I knew there was no way I'd ever be able to do exactly what she did. But if I could do even 10% of it... Honestly, I'm amazed that I've recovered so well. I thought that to myself and chuckled, just as a voice called to me from across the lobby.
ちょっと、そこの方。
I looked up and saw a young girl approaching from the elevator hall. She was short and petite, everything about her was small. I could kind of make out a few of the curves that don't appear until after puberty, so at least she wasn't in elementary school, but maybe middle school? For someone with such a cute face, she clearly didn't care about her appearance. Her hair wasn't styled and it poured down her back. Even I could tell her clothes weren't very fashionable.
ごめんなさい。スタッフルームってどこかしら。
ここは ATF のセミナー会場だけど。
Clearly not a place where a middle school girl belonged. Of course she's gonna be way older. She's gonna be like your age or something. She'd probably just come to the wrong place.
そんなの分かっているわ。
I...
なんで同じ話を繰り返せば気が済むの。
Yeah, everyone assumes she's a lot younger.
いや、今初めて行ったんだけど。
私にとってはあなたで4回目よ。この場所に来てからね。
Yeah. Irritated, she pulled a card out of her jacket. It's gonna be her ID or something. Yeah, it was one of the IDs given out to invited guests. Her name and the name of her workplace were written on the front. She was working?
Huh?
Okay. Victor Condria University, USA, Brain Science Institute.
ビクトル・コンドリア大学脳科学研究所。
I looked at the card and then at her, and then back at the card, then I looked at her again. I finally realized.
ああ、そういうことか。そのカード、どこに落ちてた？
Oh no, he thinks she found a lost card. Oh, that's even worse.
その話も4回目よ。
She looks so depressed. She sighed and showed me another card. This one was a photo ID from Victor Condria University. It was the same ID I'd seen Kurisu holding before on another world line. The photo on the card, yeah, it was definitely her.
ヒアジョウマホって読むの。私の名前、ヒアジョウマホ。漢字でもローマ字でも誰も読めた試しがないから先に言っとくわ。
ビクトル・コンドリア大学の中学生。
You're from the university middle school. That doesn't make any sense. Ugh.
寝ぼけるなら夜にして。大学に中学生がいるわけないでしょ。
それもそうだな。じゃあ飛び級か。
Oh my gosh. Unlike in Japan, it wasn't uncommon for Americans to skip grades. Kurisu had made it to university at age 17. But still, a girl this young working in a university lab?
一つ確認していいかしら。あなた今、少なからず衝撃を受けてるわよね。こんな小さい子が信じられないかしら。それとも、この年齢ですごいの方。
She got me.
高校をよく見なさい。
The girl, Maho Hiyajo, pointed to a part of the ID with her slender fingers. Her birthday, I guess. Yeah.
21歳。
つまり立派な成人女性よ。中学生じゃないの。もちろん小学生でも幼稚園児でも。
And then she puffed out her chest. There wasn't much to say, but I could imagine her saying, "They look bigger when I'm not wearing clothes. They're huge." Really?
何かしらその顔は。
いや、悪かったわ。謝る。
I couldn't believe it. She was older than me. If Daru was here, he'd be dancing around screaming, "Legal lolly for the win."
まあいいわ。世界中どこへ行っても同じ目に遭ってるから。
そうだろうな。
何か言った？
いや、別に。
Still, the Brain Science Institute? That's where Kurisu worked. Which means this person, might know a lot about Kurisu. I held back the impulse to start badgering her with questions. I looked at the pamphlet with the seminar schedules. Victor Condria's lecture was the last one for the day, and was clearly intended to be the biggest. Was this Maho Iyajo girl going to give a lecture? Just like Kurisu had done at the summer convention. No, wait, that's wrong. That never happened. Kurisu Makise never gave any lectures over the summer. That happened in the Alpha world line. In the world line I inhabited now, before the summer convention, she'd already...
君が今日はどうなの？
いいえ、私は助手として来たの。あと通訳も兼ねてね。
I looked at the pamphlet again and saw that the lecturer was a man named Alexis Leskinen. a professor at Victor Conway University and the chief researcher of the Brain Science Institute.
テーマは人工知能革命か。面白そうだ。
時間があったらぜひ聞いてみてほしいわね。
そうするよ。あ、スタッフルームって。
I led Maho over to the elevator hall and showed her where the staff room was.
ありがとう。
I had no reason to hang around her any further. I said goodbye and was just about to turn around. Just then, the elevator opened. A woman emerged. The instant I saw her face, every hair on my body stood on end. Oh! This Moeka, this woman, I'm not sure, I don't think it was this world line, but she was the one that tried to kind of kill all of us and steal the time leaping thing we had. She was like the traitor in the first game. Moeka Kiryu. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. Calm down. This is the beta world line. Mayuri's alive. Moeka's not going to kill her. Our eyes met. The eyes on the other side of her glasses were as dead as ever, and it was impossible to tell what she was thinking. I frantically averted my gaze before she realized something was wrong. She tilted her head for a second, but quickly lost interest in me and turned toward Maho.
ああ、雑誌社の方でしたよね。お約束通り主催を。
The music is really creepy now. Even in this world line, Moeka still only spoke in faint whispers.
レスキネン教授はまだなんです。少しお待たせしてしまいますけど。はい。
Is she gonna kill someone else?
それまで私でよければシステムの概要でもお願いします。
The two of them disappeared into the staff room. As I watched them leave, I took a deep breath. I tried to calm down, but it wasn't working.
桐生萌か。もしかしてまたお前なのか。
It was a terrible feeling, like a cold finger tracing the wounds in my heart. That night, when the terrorist threat shut down all the trains in Akihabara, that awful night when I just knew something was going to happen,
ここでもまたお前が。
or was I just imagining things? Was she just a magazine reporter now instead of a CERN rounder? No, even if Moeka was a rounder, we had nothing to do with CERN anymore. CERN wouldn't be watching us. I took another deep breath, grabbed some of the anxiety meds in my pocket, and swallowed them down with some mineral water I'd bought ahead of time. It would take 15 minutes for them to kick in. Those 15 minutes were always pretty rough. I laughed at myself a little and sat down on one of the reception desk's chairs. That was a sound. Okay. The table was filled with leaflets, pamphlets, and other things for the attendees. My eyes wandered to one of the pamphlets. Nakabachi Theory and the Genealogy of Pseudoscience. This pamphlet was for Professor Izaki's seminar. Nakabachi Theory. The paper he'd announced in Russia. That paper held the key to creating a real time machine. On that day, July 28th, Nakabachi had stolen the paper from Kurisu, his own daughter, and left with it. I knew that. Only Nakabachi and I knew that. I flipped through the pamphlet. It was a brief introduction to the many forms of pseudoscience and fake scientific discoveries that had emerged since the start of the 20th century. On its own, it did make for an interesting reading. And at the end of the pamphlet, Nakabachi theory was introduced as nothing more than another entry in that long list of fakes. So Dr. Nakabachi's time machine theory had been completely ignored by the academic world. All the glory, fame, and power he'd wanted so badly that he was willing to get rid of his own daughter, he didn't get any of it. And I'd heard rumors that after the announcement, he'd been imprisoned in a Russian lab. To make it even funnier, he thought he was getting VIP treatment. Damn. For a short time, there were essays and interviews in bogus academic journals. Even there, it was obvious it had all gone to his head. The ironic thing was that Nakabachi theory was completely correct and completely revolutionary. The Russian government was worried about it leaking, and the SVR was doing everything it could to keep it under wraps. But under the surface, there was a full-scale information war beginning over the paper. The time traveler from 2036, John Teeter, had told me so, which meant it had to be true. Was World War III really going to happen? There was no point in thinking about it. I'm not sure who John Teeter was. I'm not sure if we ever found out, or if it turned out to be, like, the daughter of Daru? I'm not sure. Just a little more before the drugs kicked in. I closed my eyes. Several hours later. The convention was going well. After Professor Izaki's seminar, most of the students from my university went home, but I killed some time and came back. I wanted to hear the Victor Condria lecture. I headed to the hall with plenty of time to spare and saw Maho Iajo coming from the staff room. He looks different. She was with a very tall foreigner. Was that Alexis Leskinen? It didn't seem like an American name, but maybe he was an immigrant like Kurisu, or at least descended from one. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the looks on their faces were so serious that I couldn't help but listen. Since they were both speaking in English, I could barely make out any of it, but I could tell from their voices that it wasn't a pleasant chat. Wait, did I just hear the word makise? I hated the fact that I couldn't speak English. If I'd known this was going to happen, I would have gone to an English school. The two of them walked into the waiting room for lecturers. It was located right next to the UPX theater. I put together the few fragments I was able to understand. Fire at Kurisu's house. Mrs. Makise is all right. Robbery. The police called off the investigation. Why was the FBI there? It doesn't make sense. I think that's what they were saying. Kurisu's house, did they mean where she lived in America? Her mother should still live in America. Is that where the fire was? And then words like robbery and the investigation was called off. I really wanted to know more. I stood there and worried until it was time for the lecture to begin. With nothing else to do, I went inside the theater. I could tell earlier by looking at the size of the crowds going inside, but it was a very high-energy crowd. The atmosphere was clearly different than Izaki's seminar, which was mostly students there for credit. The place was nearly full, with a crowd of scientists and people who wanted to learn about cutting-edge technology. Victor Condria's researchers had published this slate of papers in Science recently, and had gotten a lot of media attention. Maybe that was why. Were there any open seats? I found a single open seat at the edge. But when I looked at who was sitting next to it, I moaned. No. You again? Moeka Kiryu was there. She was speaking to no one, just typing endlessly into her phone. I'd once named her Shining Finger because of her incredible typing speed, and she was as fast as ever. Who is she talking to? I didn't even want to imagine. I quickly turned away and looked for another seat. Dr. Leskinen reached the podium almost the exact instant I sat down. There was a huge wave of applause. But when they saw the tiny little girl come up next to him, the applause faded into confused murmurs. Maho must have expected this. Her expression didn't change in the slightest as she stood next to the professor. In fact, when she took the microphone from the professor and looked around the theater, she looked like she belonged there.
Ladies and gentlemen.
First, Dr. Leskinen began to speak in English. When he made eye contact with Maho, she began to interpret.
Thank you for attending.
皆さん、本日は私のセミナーに集まってくださって感謝します。
I am Alexis Leskinen.
ビクトル・コンドリア大学脳科学研究所のアレクシス・レスキネンです。専門は脳信号処理システムおよび人工知能理論になります。そして私は助手の比谷城真帆です。同じく脳科学研究所で教授の指導に沿って研究をしています。よろしく。
The audience started murmuring again. That was the same way I responded when I met her. Well, that will happen, yeah.
Now, without further ado,
では早速ですが、私たちの最先端研究の一端をご紹介します。
I know today's theme is
テーマは人工知能革命としましたが、これからデモンストレーションするシステムはおそらく皆さんの想像を超えたものではないかと思っています。
Dr. Leskinen stood in front of the laptop that had been placed on the podium and started to type.
このパソコンですが、研究所のスーパーコンピューターの一つと接続されています。あ、まだプロジェクターには映さないで。
One of the staffers was about to display the laptop screen on front of the projector. Some kind of important program must have been booting up because Maho Iyasho stopped them.
すみません、まだ開発途中なんです。非常に美的センスのないプログラムが画面いっぱいに溢れ返っています。こんなチープなプログラムを見られるのは恥ずかしい。裸を見られるようにね。この中にエンジニアの方がいるなら理解していただけますよね。
Some of the audience got the professor's joke and laughed.
起動するまでの間、このシステム全体の概略を説明しましょう。
There was another projector in the center of the stage. A diagram appeared on its screen. And at the top of the diagram was a Japanese translation for the general audience. An analysis of neural pulse signals relating to memories stored in the temporal lobe. I knew that title well. In fact, I was sure I could never forget it. It was the title of an essay written by a 17-year-old genius and published in Science. She had completely analyzed the nerve impulse patterns that govern human memory and used that to digitize the memories themselves into data. And she had used that to invent a time leap machine right in front of my eyes. Though none of that had actually happened anymore.
サイエンス誌に掲載されたのでご存知の方もいるでしょう。これは私たちのチームにいた天才的な日本人研究者によって提唱され完成されたものです。
I mean, at least he's not taking the full credit for it, I guess.
人間の記憶は大脳皮質、 とりわけ側頭葉に記録されます。いわゆるフラッシュメモリみたいなもの。そのメモリに記憶を書き込んだり読み出したりするのが側頭葉にある海馬傍回という部位になります。
Dr. Leskinen pointed to the diagrams of the brain and hippocampus on the screen.
脳はニューロンと呼ばれる細胞の間を電気信号が伝わっていくことで働いています。記憶というのも実はこういった電気信号の伝わりの一つなのです。その働きを制御しているのが海馬傍回と言ってもいいでしょう。つまり電気信号が海馬傍回を出入りすることで記憶は作られていくんですね。そこでマキセ・クリスはこの論文を書いた日本人研究者です。
So she did know her.
マキセ研究員は考えました。海馬傍回を通る電気信号が電気信号のパターンと大脳皮質の
It feels like she's distracted now. Or confused. Maho started to have trouble with her interpreting. She was getting confused. Yeah. No matter how good you were with languages, interpreting for a long period of time had to be difficult. I'd once read an article on the internet that said even a professional can't do it for more than 20 minutes. International conferences and live broadcasts from overseas were actually handled by a team of people switching off. Didn't know that? Okay. Or maybe... was she having trouble because Kurisu's name came up? Dr. Leskinen saw she was having trouble and cut himself off.
すみません。
She probably knew her.
マキセ研究員は海馬傍回を出入りする電気信号のパターンに着目しました。そのパターンが大脳皮質のどの記憶と対応しているのか解析を行って完全なデータを得たのです。これによって記憶という曖昧でアナログなものを電気信号のパターンの組み合わせというデジタルなものに変換する基礎理論が確立されたのです。これがサイエンス誌に掲載された彼女の論文です。そして現在私たちのチームはその理論をもとに人間の記憶をデジタルデータとして取得するシステムを開発しています。
A wave of whispers swept across the theater.
それはすなわち人間の記憶をコンピューターに保存しそれを活用するシステムということになります。
Yeah, basically what she did. The whispers turned into a low roar. I see. So even after her death, Kurisu's research was being carried on. Of course, maybe it was natural that it would be. That was the basic theory for time leaping, which I had proved myself, even if I could never prove it to anyone else, in the Alpha World line. My memories had been turned into data and stored on a computer. There was no doubt about that. And what Dr. Leskinen was talking about right now was the basic technology required for that process.
現在、私たちが行っているプロジェクトは主に2つです。1つは医療分野への応用です。
The slide on the projector changed.
こちらは精神生理学研究所と共同で行っているプロジェクトです。コンピューターに保存した記憶データを海馬傍回を通して再び元の脳に書き戻すというもので
Incredible!
Someone who looked like a grad student in the front row shouted. Dr. Leskinen didn't seem particularly put off by the interruption. Maho continued her interpretation.
You don't believe it? I know how you feel.
信じがたい
I'm thinking
で
the
す
same
か。
thing if I were you.
その気持ちは理解できます。私も皆さんの立場であればそうでしょう。
But let me just ask you.
しかし
Can you imagine
この研究に私たちは手応えを感じています。これが実用化できればどんなに素晴らしいことでしょう。
we could treat memory loss
例えば
or
老化による記憶障害、
that currently have
あとはアルツハイマーなどそうしたものへの対処療法が期待できます。
anyone's memories could be
患者の記憶をデータとして自動的にバックアップしていくのです。
even if a memory is
記憶が失われたとしても
possible to
その都度 PC にアクセスし脳内にデータを再インストールすることが可能です。
Jeez. That sounds crazy.
we could hold the progress of
それによって忘却の進行を食い止められるのではないか。私たちはそう考えています。
eventually it would be
最終的には海馬傍回から PC 内の記憶データに常時アクセスできるようになるでしょう。
so it's a blame where to loss
そうすれば
Mm-hmm.
脳機能が失われた状態、例えば脳が激しく損傷したり萎縮してしまった場合などですが、
the system of essentially
そのような状態でも
whatever part of
変わらず脳機能を維持できます。
think of it like an
あたか
external
も
hard drive
外部ストレージと同じように。
A strange feeling gripped the hall. Part of it was shock and the feeling that they were witnessing the announcement of an incredible technology. Part of it was skepticism that a system like this could ever actually work. Normal? Part of it was revulsion at the idea of playing around with a human brain like that. Also normal. An excitement born of all these things passed from one member of the crowd to another. Dr. Leskinen raised his hand to encourage questioners.
I'm seeing some of you have questions
どうやら2つ目のプロジェクトをお話しする前に質問を受け付けないといけないようですね。
Yeah, they said they had two projects.
Yep.
And they've only talked about one, I guess.
I'll answer as many as I can. Go
で
ahead
きる範囲でお答えします。どうぞ。
Many hands were raised. I could tell that there was a wide age range of people interested. Both young and old were raising their hands. Dr. Leskinen pointed to a questioner. This was the first question. Sampling would be required when digitalizing an analog memories. Does that mean any information would be lost?
That's a good question.
The professor nodded as he listened to the question in Japanese and began to respond in English when the speaker finished. Maybe he was able to understand Japanese if not speak it.
let me live this
そ
down
の質問を言い換えると、
you're talking about attempting to
オーケストラの生演奏を WAV のデータに保存する際、生演奏のすべてを完璧に記録することはできないと。
That's certainly a concern
確かにその懸念はあります。現在の研究で最も困難な問題の一つです。
Yeah. See, it's just research for now.
脳内のネットワークが神経伝達物質のオンオフだけで、つまり二進数的にデータのやり取りをしているのであれば簡単な問題でした。
This is a very weird thing to notice, but like the first line here is really small in comparison to the rest. For some reason.
それはデジタルデータと同じことだからです。 しかし実際には伝達物質や電気信号は脳内でアナログ的に変化することが分かっています。この問題に関しては今のところより高いサンプリングレートでデータをサンプルする方法しか手段を持っていません。音楽の話で言えば 44.1kHz よりも 48kHz、 48kHz よりも 96kHz でサンプリングするといった具合です。 それによってデジタルでありながらアナログデータに近い情報を得ようとしています。
Little by little, the mood in the room was turning to disappointment. People were beginning to wonder if this was just a pretty theory that wouldn't work in reality. More questions came. All of the questioners were skeptical of the professor's theory, and many of them seemed to be outright challenging him. I started to get upset. This was Dr. Leskinen's research, but it was also Kurisu's. I knew better than anyone that it worked, and the sight of so many people refusing to give it a chance infuriated me. Were these people really scientists? I tried to keep myself under control and looked back towards the podium. Was she mad? She certainly looked disappointed. Dr. Leskinen was very polite with the rude questioners, acknowledging the problems with the theory. She was very different. Her anger was starting to seep into her interpreting too. I felt a kind of kinship with her. The question and answer session continued.
そもそもこれは医学的に無謀でしょう。デジタルデータを脳に書き戻すなんて絶対に不可能だ。正気の沙汰ではない。
Yeah, it's pretty rude.
サイエンス誌に掲載されたあの論文も読みましたが、にわかには信じられない。ましてや筆頭著者が若干17歳の女性だったとあっては。
So rude. That was the one thing I couldn't ignore.
あなたね。
He's gonna scream or something.
意外
Objection!
あ
Rebecca Day's attorney. Oh my gosh. The two people on stage and the entire audience all turned towards me at once.
やってみもしないで何がわかるって言うんだ。最初は無理だと思われてた技術なんてこの世にいくらでもあるじゃないか。でもそれを克服した研究者がいたからこそ今があるんだろう。ただ批判するだけじゃ何も生まれない。
The whole theater went silent. But I didn't regret standing up.
あなた。
On the stage, Maho Hiyajo was staring at me in shock. And as for Dr. Leskinen, I saw a flash of white teeth as our eyes met.
Awesome. He's really something.
He started to applaud. Why was he applauding? That just makes things embarrassing. I'm loving this so far.
素晴らしい。彼はなかなか大したやつだ。ですって。
Maho translated the professor's words for me to hear.
ただし、科学者たるもの常に冷静でなければいけない。大声で怒鳴っていいのは実験が成功した時の We did it.
She didn't translate that.
それだけで十分だそうですよ。
すみません。
I lowered my head and sat down. I thought I was calm, but I guess I let my emotions get away from me. I hadn't grown up at all in the past 6 months. Wait, 6 months? I thought it was a year. 6 months then. Okay, fine. If Kurisu was here, she'd make fun of me again. I could feel the rest of the audience staring at me coldly. It hurt. If I could have left, I would have wanted to, but I was too interested in hearing the rest of Dr. Leskinen's talk to move.
それでは皆さん、そろそろ次に。でも、その前に勇敢な彼に拍手をお願いします。
Oh no, please no.
彼のような挑戦者こそが科学を進歩させ、あっと驚くような理論を作り上げるのです。
I mean, he's not wrong.
彼ならきっと第3のアインシュタインになれるかもしれませんね。
The third? What do you mean the third? Who's the second?
Click on...
But that's quite a big compliment.
On the options button.
I don't see why we need to learn about Einstein. Tips, right?
Yeah.
No? Really? Got a trophy for checking the tips, okay. And it's just talking about him. It's not saying anything about the second Einstein. Which I'm still very curious about because...
Go down, I want to see who John Titor is.
I told you! It was the person who went back in the past in the first game. No, back... yeah, like they came from the future to the present and would post a lot of stuff on that blog Achan and gave the main character like a lot of knowledge about the future.
Please.
I told you. But who's the second Einstein?
The second Einstein, of course.
ちなみに
Ah,
第
thank you.
2のアインシュタインはここにいるちょっと小うるさい私の助手。
Oh, come on.
Really?
変なこと言うのはやめてください、教授。
The audience chuckled. Sheesh.
さて、ここで私はしばらく通訳をお休みさせていただきます。これから私よりも優秀な通訳が登場します。これが私たちのチームが今最も力を入れている2つ目のプロジェクト。
Oh. So the main one is the second one? We haven't heard about it yet. Okay.
アマデウスシステムです。
When she finished speaking, Maho walked to the back of the stage. At Dr. Leskinen's signal, the PC screen was displayed on the projector. And then I heard a voice.
皆さん、初めてお目にかかります。
Maho question mark. I guess it's her AI. Like they probably put her voice and stuff in a computer and are using that. It sounds a lot like her. And there's obviously the giant picture of her. The murmuring got louder than before, but it felt more uncertain than surprised. On the screen, I could see a detailed 3D model of Maho, the girl who'd just been interpreting.
ちなみにこれは映画などで有名なドリンクワークススタジオに作成してもらったモデルです。
Yeah, it's probably DreamWorks. Drinkworks. Maho Hiyajo chimed in from the back of the stage.
声については私のボイスサンプルをデータベースにして日本の山名が作ってくれました。
I got that.
Perfect.
Yeah, an instrument maker that was founded in the 19th century began to develop and sell artificial voice software and stuff. Fictional, but based on a real thing. World line. Only one exists at a given time. Yeah, the result will, no matter how much you change the past, the result will converge to the actual present. The present will remain the same. Of course, it's a theory. It's a weird one. I believe a lot more in parallel universes than I do in, like, a single world line that everything comes back to, eventually. This was CG. It sure looked real to me. The professor said something into the laptop's microphone, and then the 3D model of Maho Iajo on the screen opened its mouth. Oh, she's the new interpreter. So they made the computer interpret him now.
私はヒアジョウマホです。正確に言うなら78時間22分前のヒアジョウマホから派生した存在ということになります。
So she was created 78 hours ago. Okay. If you listen carefully, you might be able to hear something slightly off. but it sounded far more human than any artificial voice I'd ever heard.
先ほどから皆さんの質問を聞かせていただいていました。
This is so interesting.
教授はどうして私を早く紹介しないのかととてももどかしく思っていましたよ。以前から感じていましたが、どうも教授は人が悪いようですね。
She's honest.
全くだわ。
The Maho Iajo on the screen spoke with a slightly irritated expression, and the Maho Iajo by the wall nodded in agreement. Dr. Leskinen simply smiled. What was going on here? What part of this was their biggest project? The rest of the audience didn't seem to have any more of a clue than I did.
皆さんの多くは疑問に思っています。人間の記憶をデータとして取り出したり、それを保存したり、さらにはそのデータを活用したり、そんなことが本当に可能なのかと。それでは私は一体何でしょうか。私は78時間23分前のヒア城真帆の脳内から取り出された記憶を持ち、そのデータをベースにして動いているのです。
So they have experimented, but have problems with it, of course. What did you just say? The professor said something else in rapid English and asked the Maho on screen to translate it. But she, if she was the right word, hesitated and went silent. She can hesitate? I looked at the real Maho and she was responding exactly the same way.
教授、今のは。教授、今の発言はセクシャルハラスメントとして大学に訴えてもいいでしょうか。
What? What did he say? Dr. Leskinen laughed cheerfully and responded to her. The conversation was in quick English, and over half the audience couldn't understand it. The real Maho sighed and took back the microphone.
教授はですね、私に対して、いえ、私の記憶で動作しているこのアマデウスに対して質問に答えてごらんと言いました。
Okay. What was it?
いつ頃までパパとお風呂に入っていたかとか。
What?
Oh, you.
What?
Okay, it's a sort of like. Okay, because she has her memory, she can answer that, but it's still.
It's not her answering that. That's not right.
No, but like the implications of that are you're basically cloning yourself, and this is actual cloning.
Yeah,
You're
cloning yourself into a computer.
You're cloning yourself into a computer, and it's not.
I mean, it's good that at least the computer hesitated and didn't, like, answer, you know?
No, but just the capacity of.
I know!
Hesitate.
I know! I know, that's amazing. This is why I love Steins, okay?
Yeah.
The first one was just as good, in my opinion, so far, but, well, we're not very far into this, so.
初恋はいつだったかとか、何でも答えられるだろうと。ああ、もうそれ以上通訳しなくていいわ。恥ずかしいからやめてくれないかしら。私はそういう質問には一切答えないわよ。
The professor said something else, and the Maho on the screen groaned and turned away.
クレジットカードの番号なんてもっと言えません。あと、1週間前に着ていたパジャマの色なんて覚えてるわけないです。
I'm finding it slightly creepy that in this picture of him, he's actually smiling a bit of a creepy smile. What was this? It was so natural, I couldn't tell at first, but this was something unbelievable, wasn't it? It felt very different than a typical AI, I could tell that much. It wasn't answering the questions it was given, and because they were embarrassing, was it programmed to respond like that to certain questions for the purposes of this demonstration? It was possible that's all it was, but if that conversation wasn't programmed in advance, the rest of the crowd seemed to reach the same conclusion I did, and the whispers started to turn to surprise.
ねえちょっといい加減このいたずらな子供を何とかしてくれないかしら。何をしたいのか理解はできるけど、とにかく恥ずかしいわ。
The copy of Maho was complaining to the original. It felt like I was watching a pair of twin sisters talking.
いたずらな子供ではなく、レスキー教授が面白がってなかなか説明してくれないので、代わりに私がお話しします。
Maho walked back to the professor.
皆さん、もうお分かりかと思いますが、アマデウスは自分が話していいこととそうでないこと、あるいは話したいことと話したくないことを自ら判断して喋っています。私たちはアマデウスにそういったプログラムを一切施していません。
I knew it.
彼女は与えられた私の記憶からそれを独自に判断し、自律的にそういう行動をとっているのです。
The Maho on screen suddenly took over for her.
そしてこれは先ほどの医療分野への応用とは方向性が真逆になってしまい、研究所内でずっと議論が交わされていることですが、私は不必要な情報をいつの間にか忘れてしまう。
Oh.
というか、記憶の引き出しから出してこられなくなるのです。皆さんと同じようにです。
Also,
That's a bit weird. They made the AI really human. Like information they don't need or use or think about that much just eventually disappears.
例えば、1週間前に着ていたパジャマの色、確かにそれを知っていたはずなのに、今は思い出せません。
Mm-hmm.
そのような情報は生存していく上で必要がないからです。これも皆さんと同じです。このようにアマデウスは記憶のインプットやアウトプットが人間のそれと非常に近いのです。
Yeah, that's what I said.
これは私たちも驚くべき結果として研究を重ねている最中で、まだ詳しくは解明されていません。
Oh. So it wasn't on purpose that they made it so human. It was accidentally, it just turned out this way. As Maho finished up, Dr. Leskinen took the microphone back. She resumed interpreting as he continued the lecture.
However, what really surprised us
さらに
that Amadeus
私たちを驚かせたのは、アマデウスが意図して嘘をつくということ。
Oh! An hour and 10 minutes. So I think I'm gonna stop for now. I'm definitely gonna keep playing this game. It's really interesting. So far I like it just as much as the original Steins game. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you next time.